We are gathered today for a signing ceremony to implement the reforms outlined in Section 922 of the fiscal year 2017 National Defense Authorization Act. For nearly 4 years, the Department of Defense has planned and prepared to implement this important legislation. It not only strengthens the role of the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations and Low-Intensity Conflict as the senior civilian for special operations within the department, but it also reinforces the partnership with the commander of the United States Special Operations Command.
As we enact these reforms, we follow the vision of President John F. Kennedy, who predicted the rise of special operations nearly 60 years ago. He foresaw, quote, another type of war, new in its intensity, ancient in its origin, that would require a whole new kind of strategy, a wholly different kind of forces which are too unconventional to be called conventional forces, which are growing in number and importance and significance. President Kennedy gave these remarks at the opening of the nuclear age, when the Pentagon was primarily organized to plan and direct large conventional operations against superpowers, not special operations short of overt declared conflict. The global demands for special operations forces then and now has confirmed President Kennedy's foresight. And now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of special operations forces.
I'm here today to announce that I have directed the Special Operations civilian leadership to report directly to me instead of through the current bureaucratic channels. This historic step finalizes what Congress has authorized and directed and will put Special Operations Command on par with the military services for the first time. This reform will immediately improve agility to the department and the command and will enable us to streamline information flow, enhance decision-making, and more adaptly and adeptly support our commanders and their superb soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. Change is often tectonic in the Department of Defense. This is by design, and as our history shows, has served the nation very well. Today's reform is directly aligned with all three of my priorities as outlined in my message to the force on Monday. First, bring the current war to an end in a responsible manner that guarantees the security of our citizens. Two, continue implementing the National Defense Strategy with an emphasis on transforming the department for great power competition. And three, accelerate the department's activities to contribute to our whole of government effort to combat transnational threats. I also want to highlight that this particular change has been analyzed, debated, and refined over the course of the past 30 years, since the creation of Special Operations Command and the creation of the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Special Operations Low-Intensity Conflict by the Nunn-Cohen Amendment to the Goldwater-Nichols Act of 1987. I have closely studied and been intimately involved in these efforts. I personally think Solik deserves to be an Undersecretary of Defense, but unfortunately that's beyond my authority and purview at this time. Today, with the strong support of President Trump, we are forging the next chapter in the history of the United States Special Operations Forces and formalizing a watershed reform. Right now, we start the transition to provide greater civilian oversight of, and critically advocacy for, our special operators. This couldn't come at a more critical moment in time as we bring our nation's longest conflict to a responsible end and prepare our special operations forces for this new era of great power competition. I can think of no better place than here, at the original home of our special operations forces, to enshrine stronger support for the next generation of special operators hardened by combat and unrelenting deployments who understand the fundamental nature of war, who remain committed to defeating every threat, and who are undeterred by the high price of victory.